Welcome to Earth Before Us, a quiet harbor where the tired mind can find its anchor. Perhaps you have settled in for the evening, ready to let the long day drift away. Perhaps you are here to let the sound of ancient winds guide you into a peaceful sleep. Or maybe you simply wish to learn something new, wrapped in this gentle stillness. Whatever your intention, know that you are in the right place. Tonight, our journey does not take us to a world of swampy heat or deep, warm oceans. It takes us to a world of profound, magnificent cold. A world sculpted by ice and wind, a planet in the grip of a great winter that lasted for 100,000 years. We are traveling to the Pleistocene epoch, to the very height of the last ice age, to meet the great, shaggy lords that reigned over this frozen kingdom. This is the story of the Woolly Mammoth. Imagine a planet breathing in a long, slow, icy breath. For millennia, the Earth's climate has been cooling. The subtle wobble of its axis and the shape of its orbit have shifted the balance of sunlight. Snow that falls in the far north no longer melts in the summer. It accumulates, year after year, century after century, compressing under its own immense weight, turning first to dense fern, and then to a river of solid ice. This is the birth of a glacier. And these glaciers are growing. From the mountains of North America, from the highlands of Scandinavia, great sheets of ice, kilometers thick, are advancing southward. They are not moving quickly. Their progress is imperceptible, the slow, relentless creep of a frozen tide. They grind mountains into dust, carve valleys into deep fjords, and push the very shape of the continents before them. A third of the planet's surface is now covered in this immense armor of ice. The world is a different color. From space, it is a swirl of brilliant white and deep blue, a planet holding its breath under a blanket of winter. Our journey begins here, 40,000 years ago, not in the ice itself, but on the world that existed at its edge. This is a world that has been utterly transformed by the cold. Sea levels are over 100 meters lower than they are today, the water locked away in the great glaciers. Land that is now submerged is then dry, creating bridges between continents. A land bridge connects Siberia to Alaska. Great Britain is a frozen peninsula of Europe, and stretching from the shores of Spain across the vast plains of Eurasia and all the way to North America is an ecosystem that no longer exists. It is not a forest. It is not a barren desert. It is the Mammoth Steppe. Let us stand on this lost prairie. The air is thin, dry, and bitingly cold. The wind is a constant presence, a relentless river of air that flows from the high-pressure zones of the great ice sheets. It sweeps across the plains, carrying with it a fine dust of powdered rock, called loose, ground from the mountains by the glaciers. This dust settles in a thick, fertile blanket over the land. The sky above is a pale, brilliant blue, the sun a distant, weak circle of light that hangs low on the horizon, even at midday. There is a clarity to the air, a sharpness that makes the distant, ice-covered mountains seem impossibly close. The world feels vast, open, and profoundly silent. But it is not a dead world. This is a cold desert, but it is a fertile one. The dry, windy conditions prevent the growth of dense forests. Instead, the ground is covered in a thick, matted carpet of hardy grasses, sedges, and low-growing herbs. These plants are rich in nutrients. A vast, frozen pasture that can sustain immense herds of animals. And the animals are here, in numbers that are difficult to comprehend. Great herds of bison, their coats thick and shaggy, move across the steppe, their breath pluming in the frigid air. Wild horses, smaller and stockier than their modern relatives, gallop in great thundering herds. Reindeer, their magnificent antlers held high, migrate in rivers of life that stretch for miles. This is a world of giants, a roll call of the great megafauna of the Pleistocene. There are woolly rhinoceroses, their great horned-like bosses used to sweep away snow to find the frozen grass beneath. There are giant elk with antlers spanning 3 meters, and musk oxen forming defensive circles against the wind. And in this world of giants, one reigns supreme. At first, you see them only as a line of dark moving shapes on the distant horizon, a slow-moving mountain range of flesh and fur. As they draw closer, their true scale becomes apparent.
This is a herd of woolly mammoths. They are immense. A large bull can stand over 3 meters tall at the shoulder, weighing more than 6 tons. But it is not just their size that is so breathtaking. It is their presence. They move with a slow, ponderous grace, a quiet authority that speaks of their mastery over this frozen world. Their bodies are a perfect sculpture of adaptation to the cold. They are covered in a thick, shaggy coat of dark brown or black hair, some of it over 1 meter long, a great, wind-proof mantle that hangs almost to the ground. Beneath this outer coat is a dense, fine underwool, trapping a layer of air against the skin, a perfect insulation. And beneath the skin lies a thick layer of fat, a final barrier against the relentless, biting cold. Their ears are small and rounded, covered in fur, minimizing heat loss. Even their blood is adapted, with a special type of hemoglobin that allows for the release of oxygen even at near freezing temperatures. Every part of their being is a testament to survival in a world of ice. But their most iconic feature is their tusks, great curving scythes of ivory that can grow over 4 meters long. They are not weapons of aggression, though they could be used for defense. Their primary purpose is as tools. In the winter, the mammoths use their immense curving tusks to sweep aside the snow, clearing a path to the frozen grasses and sedges buried beneath. They are living snowplows, perfectly equipped for their environment. The herd is a family, a complex social unit led by an old, experienced matriarch. She is the keeper of the herd's memory. She knows the ancient migration routes, the places where the snow is thinnest in winter, the secret valleys where the first green shoots will appear in the brief, explosive spring. The others follow her, the younger females, their calves, and the adolescents. The great bulls live mostly solitary lives, joining the herds only during the mating season. To watch a herd of mammoths move across the steppe is to witness a living river, a force of nature. They are the great gardeners of this lost world. Their grazing prevents the growth of forests, maintaining the grassy plains that so many other species depend on. Their immense weight compacts the snow, and their droppings fertilize the soil. The entire ecosystem is built around them. They are not just inhabitants of the Mammoth Steppe, they are the architects of it. As you prepare to rest tonight, let this image of a world of ice settle in your mind. Feel the deep, biting cold of the wind. See the pale, low sun in the brilliant blue sky, and watch the slow, majestic procession of the great, shaggy lords of the Ice Age as they move across the endless, frozen plains. This was their kingdom, a world that was harsh, demanding, and unforgiving, but one to which they were perfectly, beautifully adapted. They were the titans of a frozen age, the embodiment of strength and endurance. In our next journey, we will draw closer to these magnificent creatures. We will explore the intricate details of their bodies, from their grinding teeth to their sensitive trunks, and we will come to understand the deep social bonds that held their families together in this vast and empty world. For now, rest in the great, silent peace of the Ice Age. Let the image of a world locked in a beautiful, eternal winter bring you a sense of profound calm. And let the slow, steady footsteps of the mammoth herd be the rhythm that guides you into a deep and restorative sleep.
In our last journey, we stepped into a world of profound cold, the vast, windswept expanse of the Mammoth Steppe, at the height of the last ice age. We witnessed a kingdom sculpted by ice, a frozen prairie teeming with great herds, ruled by the shaggy, majestic lords of that lost world. Tonight, we will walk with those lords. Our journey takes us away from the grand landscape and into the intimate presence of the woolly mammoth itself. We will explore the incredible architecture of its body, a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering designed for a life of cold and hardship. We will come to know the Titan. Imagine standing beside one of these magnificent creatures. The first thing you would notice after its immense size is its coat. It is not a simple layer of fur. It is a complex, multi-layered defense against a cold that could freeze the life out of a lesser being. The outer layer is made of long, coarse guard hairs, some over a meter in length. This is the mammoth's greatcoat, a shaggy, protective mantle that hangs down its sides like a curtain. It is thick, oily, and waterproof, designed to shed snow and block the relentless, biting wind of the steppe. Its color is a rich tapestry of browns, blacks, and sometimes reddish or blonde tones, a perfect camouflage against the muted colors of the frozen plains. But the true secret to its warmth lies beneath. If you could part this shaggy outer coat, you would find a second layer, a dense, fine, and incredibly soft underwool like the caveat of a modern muskox. This layer is a perfect insulator. It traps a thick blanket of air against the mammoth's skin, warmed by its own body heat. This layer of trapped, still air is what kept the creature's core temperature stable even when the outside world dropped to 50 degrees below zero. And beneath the skin, a third layer of defense, a deposit of fat, up to 10 centimeters thick, particularly over the back and shoulders. This was both insulation and an energy reserve, a store of fuel for the long, lean winters when food was scarce. The mammoth's iconic high-shouldered, sloping back profile is due in part to this great hump of fat and muscle. Every external feature is a study in the conservation of heat. Its ears are tiny for an elephant, no more than a fifth the size of an African elephant's, and covered in thick fur. Large ears are radiators, designed to shed heat in a hot climate. The mammoth could not afford to lose a single degree of warmth. Its tail, too, was short and stubby, another adaptation to minimize exposed skin. Even its trunk, that most versatile of elephant appendages, was adapted. At its tip, it had two distinct finger-like lobes. One was long and broad, and the other shorter and thicker. This gave it a dexterity that was almost human. It could use its trunk to pluck a single delicate flower in the brief summer, or to grasp a tough clump of frozen grass in the depths of winter. Its trunk was its hand, its nose, its drinking straw, its voice. It was the mammoth's most intimate connection to the world. But its most visually stunning tools were its tusks. Let us look closely at these magnificent structures. They are not teeth in the conventional sense, but vastly overgrown incisors made of pure, dense ivory. In a large bull, they could grow over 4 meters long, curving first downwards and outwards, and then back inwards in a great, elegant spiral. The tusks of the females were smaller and less curved. These were not primarily weapons. They were multi-purpose tools, essential for survival on the steppe. Their primary function was as a snowplow. In the winter, the ground was covered in a deep layer of snow. The mammoth would use its great sweeping tusks to clear away the drifts, exposing the frozen grasses and sedges that were its staple food. The distinctive asymmetrical wear patterns found on fossilized tusks tell us that, just like humans, most mammoths were either right-tusked or left-tusked, favoring one side over the other for their work. The tusks were also used to break ice to get to drinking water, to strip bark from the few hardy trees that grew in sheltered valleys, and perhaps even to defend against predators. A full-grown mammoth had little to fear, but a mother defending her calf could use her great tusks as a formidable wall of ivory against a pack of wolves or a saber-toothed cat. The tusks were also a record of a mammoth's life. Like the rings of a tree, they grew in layers throughout the animal's existence. By analyzing the isotopes in the ivory, scientists can read the story of a mammoth's life, the seasons it endured, the foods it ate, the long migrations it made. The tusk is a diary written in stone.
Now let us look inside the mammoth's mouth. An elephant's life is defined by its teeth. The mammoth had only 4 functional teeth at any one time, 2 in the upper jaw and 2 in the lower. These were not teeth for tearing, but great, ridged, grinding plates like millstones. They were perfectly designed for pulverizing the tough, abrasive, silica-rich grasses of the steppe. As one set of teeth wore down from this constant, grinding work, a new set would slowly erupt from the back of the jaw, pushing the old, worn-out teeth forward until they fell out. A mammoth would go through 6 sets of these grinding molars in its lifetime. When the 6th and final set wore out, the old mammoth could no longer eat, and its long life would come to a quiet, natural end. Its lifespan was written in its teeth. But the mammoth was more than just a collection of remarkable adaptations. It was a deeply social and intelligent creature. Imagine a herd. On a cold, clear day, it is a family, a multi-generational group of related females and their young, all led by the oldest and most experienced among them, the matriarch. She is the heart of the herd. Her wisdom, accumulated over 60 or 70 years of life on the steppe, is the herd's most precious asset. She guides their movements, leading them along ancient, invisible pathways that have been passed down through generations. She remembers the location of salt licks, sheltered valleys, and safe river crossings. She teaches the young which plants to eat, how to use their tusks, and how to read the signs of an approaching blizzard or a hidden predator. The bonds between the members of the herd are incredibly strong. They communicate constantly, not just with the deep, resonant rumbles that travel for miles through the frozen ground, but with a rich language of touch. They intertwine their trunks in greeting, a gesture of affection and reassurance. Mothers gently guide their calves with a nudge of a tusk or a touch of a trunk. When danger threatens, the herd forms a defensive circle around the young, their massive bodies a living fortress, their great tusks facing outwards. They would fight to the death to protect one another. A young mammoth would spend more than a decade under its mother's care, learning the complex social rules and the vast geographical knowledge needed to survive. This long period of learning is a sign of great intelligence. The mammoth's brain was larger than that of any land animal alive today, a complex organ capable of memory, problem-solving, and perhaps even a form of grief. As you prepare for sleep, let the image of this gentle titan settle in your mind. See it not as a brutish monster, but as a creature of immense sophistication and deep social grace. Picture the intricate detail of its shaggy coat, a perfect shield against the cold. Feel the elegant, powerful curve of its great ivory tusks. Imagine the quiet intelligence in its small, deep-set eyes. Hear the deep, rumbling conversations that bind the family together. The woolly mammoth was a masterpiece of evolution. Every part of it, from its specialized blood to its grinding teeth to its social bonds, was a perfect answer to the question of how to live in a world of ice. It was more than just a giant. It was a titan, a creature that had not just survived the Ice Age, but had mastered it. In our next journey, we will follow these magnificent herds on their great seasonal migration. We will travel with them across the vast, frozen plains, share in their struggles, and witness their incredible endurance in the face of a beautiful and unforgiving world. For now, rest in the quiet strength of the Ice Age Titan. Let the image of a great mammoth mother gently nudging her calf forward through the snow be a symbol of the enduring power of care and connection in even the harshest of worlds. Let the deep peace of the frozen steppe be your guide into a long and restorative sleep.
We have walked in a world of ice and stood in the presence of the woolly mammoth, the great titan of that frozen age. We have come to know its body, a fortress against the cold, and to understand its life as a social, intelligent, and gentle giant. But the life of a mammoth was not one of stillness. It was a life of constant, epic movement. To survive on the Mammoth Steppe, a world where the seasons swung from brief, intense abundance to long, brutal scarcity, required a perpetual journey. Tonight, we will join a mammoth herd on its great seasonal migration. We will follow in their immense footsteps as they traverse a continent facing the perils and wonders of the long march. This is the story of a journey that was the very heartbeat of their existence. Imagine the end of the brief, intense Arctic summer. For a few short months, the Mammoth Steppe has been a world of life. The 24-hour sun has caused an explosion of growth. The plains have been a carpet of colorful wildflowers and nutrient-rich grasses, a feast for the great herds. The mammoths have spent this time grazing, building up the thick layers of fat they will need to survive the coming winter. The young calves, born in the spring, have grown strong, playing under the watchful eyes of their mothers and aunts. But now a change is in the air. The sun begins to dip below the horizon for a few hours each night. The first frosts touch the land, turning the vibrant greens to shades of gold and rust. The wind carries a new, sharper bite. The birds that had nested on the tundra begin their long flight south. The matriarch of the herd feels this change in her ancient bones. She is the keeper of the map, a map that is not drawn on paper, but etched into her memory by decades of experience, and perhaps by a deeper inherited instinct. It is time to move. She lifts her great head, gives a low, rumbling call that vibrates through the ground, and turns to the south. The journey has begun. The herd moves as one, a slow, unstoppable river of fur and ivory. There are perhaps 15 of them, the old matriarch, her sisters, her daughters, and their calves of various ages. They walk with a steady, rocking gait, a deceptively efficient stride that can cover dozens of kilometers in a single day. They are built for endurance. Their path is not random. They are following invisible highways, ancient migration routes that their ancestors have walked for 100,000 years. These paths follow the contours of the land, seeking out the easiest terrain, the most reliable water sources, and the pastures that will still hold some nourishment even as the world freezes around them. The first challenge is the coming of winter itself. The days grow shorter, the nights longer and colder. Snow begins to fall, at first a gentle dusting, then a thick, heavy blanket that muffles all sound. The world turns to a stark, beautiful canvas of white and gray. The herd does not stop. They are plows, built to move through this world. The adults at the front use their great, curving tusks and their massive heads to clear a path through the deep snow, creating a trail for the smaller, more vulnerable calves to follow. The calves walk in the lee of their mothers' massive bodies, sheltered from the biting wind. The herd is a moving fortress, a pocket of warmth and safety in the vast, frozen emptiness. Food is now scarce. The rich summer grasses are buried. The mammoths must work for every mouthful, sweeping away the snow with their tusks to find the dry, frozen, but still nutritious vegetation beneath. They spend most of their waking hours doing this, a slow, methodical harvest that requires immense strength and patience. As they travel south, they move from the open tundra into the taiga, a sparse forest of hardy conifers, birches, and willows. Here, there is shelter from the wind, but also new dangers.
This is a world of predators.
A pack of dire wolves, larger and more powerful than any wolf today, might shadow the herd for days, watching, waiting for a moment of weakness, for a calf to stray, or for an old mammoth to falter. The matriarch is ever watchful. Her trunk is constantly in the air, tasting the wind for the scent of danger. When a threat is detected, the herd's response is immediate and coordinated. The adults form a circle, facing outward, their tusks a formidable barrier. The calves are safe within. The low, guttural growls of the mammoths are a clear warning. Most predators, faced with this wall of flesh and ivory, will not risk an attack. But the threat is a constant presence, a source of tension in the long, dark winter months. Another great danger is the river crossings. Even in the depths of winter, the larger rivers do not always freeze solid. To cross them is a perilous undertaking. The matriarch must find a place where the current is not too strong, where the banks are not too steep. Imagine the scene. The great beasts enter the frigid, dark water, their shaggy coats immediately soaked, their great bodies fighting against the pull of the current. The smaller calves might struggle, and their mothers will use their trunks and bodies to nudge them, to support them, to guide them towards the far bank. A slip on a submerged icy rock could mean disaster. But the matriarch's memory is true, and she leads them to a safe crossing. They emerge on the other side, shaking, their coats instantly freezing into a crystalline armor, and they continue their march, their incredible physiology allowing them to survive a shock that would kill any lesser creature. As you prepare for sleep tonight, walk with them. Feel the deep, crunching sound of their footsteps in the snow. Hear the low, constant rumble of their communications. See the great, warm clouds of their breath in the frigid air. Feel the deep, unshakable bond of the family, a moving island of life in a world of ice. The journey is not just a physical one, it is a journey of memory and instinct. The matriarch is not just navigating a landscape, she is navigating time. Her knowledge connects the present to 1,000 past seasons. She is the living library of the herd. Sometimes they pass places of significance, a great ancient boneyard where the skeletons of generations of mammoths lie scattered, a place where the old and the sick have come to die. The herd will pause here. They will grow quiet. They will gently touch the bones of their ancestors with their trunks, a gesture of reverence, of memory, perhaps of a form of grief. The emotional lives of these creatures were deep and complex, a fact we can only guess at from these silent, fossilized scenes. Finally, after months of travel, they reach their wintering grounds, a great sheltered river valley, perhaps, where the winds are less fierce and the sun feels a little stronger. Here, they will endure the darkest, coldest part of the year, until the earth tilts once more, and the first faint promise of spring calls them northward again. The long march is a cycle, an endless circle, a journey south for survival and a journey north for renewal. This rhythm was the engine of the entire Mammoth Steppe ecosystem. The herd's constant movement prevented overgrazing, and their droppings fertilized the plains, ensuring the richness of the summer pastures they would return to. Let the image of this great, cyclical journey bring you a sense of peace. It is a story of incredible hardship, but it is also a story of incredible strength, of resilience, and of the enduring power of family and memory. The mammoths were not just wandering, they were weaving a thread through the seasons, a thread that held their world together. In our next journey, a new and different kind of intelligence will enter this world, a creature that also travels in family groups, that also has a deep memory, and that also knows how to survive the cold. A creature that will look upon the great mammoth not just as a part of the landscape, but as a source of food, of inspiration, and of awe. The human encounter is about to begin. For now, let your mind travel with the herd. Let the slow, steady rhythm of their footsteps be the pace of your own breath, and let the image of a family moving as one through a vast and beautiful world of ice guide you into a deep, peaceful, and restorative sleep.
We have walked in a world of ice and followed the great mammoth herds on their long, cyclical march across the frozen steppe. We have seen a world in a state of harsh, beautiful balance, a kingdom of giants ruled by instinct, by season, and by the deep memory of the matriarch. But this world was not empty of another kind of intelligence. A new creature was walking these same frozen plains, following these same great herds. A creature that was physically weak, but possessed a mind of unparalleled creativity and a spirit of unbreakable resilience. Tonight, our journey brings us to the most profound encounter of the Ice Age, the meeting of the mammoth and the human. This is not simply a story of a hunter and its prey. It is a story of a deep, complex, and spiritual relationship that would shape the destiny of both species. Imagine a small group of early modern humans, perhaps 20 or 30 individuals, huddled on a high, wind-swept ridge. They are wrapped in thick furs, wolf, reindeer, bear, their faces weathered by the relentless cold and wind. Below them, the vast, pale expanse of the Mammoth Steppe stretches to the horizon, and in the distance, they see what they have been searching for, a dark, moving line, a herd of mammoths. For these Ice Age people, the mammoth was everything. It was a walking mountain of resources, a key to survival in this unforgiving world. But to see it only as a resource is to miss the heart of the story. To the human mind, the mammoth was also a spirit, a symbol, a god. It was an object of both profound desire and profound reverence. Look at these people. They are not brutish cavemen. They are us. Their minds are as sharp, as creative, as emotional as our own. They have a rich culture, a complex social life, and a deep understanding of the world around them. They are masters of this frozen environment. They know how to make fire, how to craft sophisticated tools from stone and bone, how to sew warm, tailored clothing with ivory needles. And they know the mammoth. They have studied it for generations. They know its habits, its migration routes, its strengths, and its weaknesses. The relationship is an intimate one, a dance of observation and anticipation that has been passed down for 1,000 years. The hunt, when it happens, is not an act of random violence. It is a carefully planned, highly coordinated, and deeply spiritual undertaking. It is a rare event. A single mammoth could feed and supply a clan for an entire winter. The risk
is immense, and success is never guaranteed. Let us follow a hunting party. They are a small group of the most experienced men and women. They do not charge the herd. That would be suicide. Instead, they follow. For days, perhaps for weeks. They are shadows on the landscape, moving downwind, staying out of sight, their movements economical and silent. They are waiting for the perfect opportunity. Perhaps they will find a lone individual, an old bull separated from the herd, or a younger mammoth that has become lost. Or perhaps they will use the landscape itself as a weapon. They might seek to drive a single mammoth into a natural trap, a narrow ravine, a boggy patch of ground, or over a cliff. This requires a level of planning and communication that is breathtaking. They would have used hand signals, bird calls, a language of shared intention that required no words. One group would act as drivers, another would wait at the trap. It was a feat of collective intelligence. Imagine the final moments. The great beast is trapped, confused, and enraged. The hunters close in, not with brute force, but with precision. They carry long, slender spears tipped with exquisitely crafted points of flint or obsidian. These are not weapons for bludgeoning, but for piercing. They aim for the vulnerable points, the soft underbelly, the space behind the shoulder.
The confrontation is brief, terrifying, and deeply personal. To stand before a creature of this size, to feel the ground tremble with its rage, to meet its small, intelligent eye, this was an act that required a courage we can barely comprehend. When the great beast finally falls, a silence descends. There is no celebration, not yet. There is a moment of quiet reverence. The hunters might touch the mammoth's great shaggy head, a gesture of respect and thanks. In their worldview, the mammoth has not been taken, it has given itself. Its spirit must be honored. The work that follows is immense. The entire clan will descend upon the carcass. Every part of the mammoth will be used. The meat will be cut and frozen or dried for later use. The great, thick hide will be carefully removed to be made into clothing or to cover their shelters. The long, shaggy hair will be woven into cordage. The bones, massive and dense, will be used as structural supports for their dwellings or carved into tools, needles, and ornaments. Even the dung, once dried, will be used as a slow-burning fuel. The mammoth is life. It is warmth, food, clothing, and shelter. It is the center of their physical world. But its importance extends far beyond the physical. Let us now travel from the open steppe to a different, more secret world. Let us enter one of the deep, dark caves that dot the landscapes of Ice Age Europe, places like Lascaux or Chauvet. We leave the pale, bright light of the frozen world behind and descend into a profound, silent darkness. With only the flickering, uncertain light of a stone lamp filled with animal fat, we move deeper into the earth. The air is cold and still. The only sound is our own breathing and the gentle drip of water. And then, the torchlight falls upon a wall, and we see them. Great, magnificent, lifelike images of the mammoths, painted in rich reds, yellows, and blacks, their forms so perfectly captured that they seem to be breathing in the flickering light. Their great, curving tusks sweep across the stone. Their shaggy coats are rendered with astonishing detail.
Their small, wise eyes seem to watch us from across a gulf of 30,000 years. This is the other half of the human encounter. This is where the mammoth becomes more than an animal. It becomes an idea, a spirit, a memory. Why did they do this? Why did our ancestors venture into the deepest, most dangerous parts of the earth to paint these images? We will never know for sure. These were not art galleries. They were sanctuaries, sacred spaces. Perhaps the paintings were part of a ritual to call the mammoths, to ensure a successful hunt. The act of painting the animal was a way of connecting with its spirit, of entering its world. The spears and wounds that are sometimes painted on their bodies may represent a form of sympathetic magic. Or perhaps these were not about hunting at all. Perhaps they were an expression of pure awe, a way of honoring the most magnificent creature in their world. The artists who painted these were masters. They understood anatomy, perspective, and motion. They used the natural bulges and curves of the cave wall to give their paintings a three-dimensional life. A bulge in the rock becomes the powerful shoulder of a mammoth. A crack becomes a leg. As you prepare to sleep, imagine yourself in one of these deep caves. The world outside is a frozen wasteland. But here, in the warm, flickering light of your lamp, the walls are alive. A great herd of mammoths seem to march across the ceiling in a silent, eternal procession. You are surrounded by the spirits of the great beasts. There is no fear here. There is only a profound sense of connection, a feeling of being part of a story that is far older and larger than yourself. The relationship between humans and mammoths was a paradox. They were the ultimate hunter and the ultimate prey, but they were also fellow travelers in this world of ice. Both were intelligent, social creatures. Both were families, led by the wisdom of their elders. Both were masters of survival. Perhaps in the mammoth, our ancestors saw a reflection of themselves, but on a grander, more powerful scale. The mammoth was a symbol of strength, of endurance, of the deep, quiet wisdom of the earth itself. To paint it was to touch that power. In our next journey, we will witness the end of this world. We will feel the climate begin to warm, see the great ice sheets retreat, and watch as the vast grassy plains of the Mammoth Steppe give way to a new, unfamiliar world of forests and bogs. We will see the beginning of the end for the last great lords of the Ice Age. For now, rest in the sacred silence of the painted cave. Let the flickering torchlight be your guide into the world of dreams, and let the image of the great shaggy mammoth, a creature of both flesh and spirit, bring you a sense of deep, timeless peace.
We have walked the frozen plains of the Mammoth Steppe and stood in awe before the great, shaggy lords of the Ice Age. We have followed them on their long march and entered the sacred, painted caves where their spirits live on in stone. We have witnessed a world in a state of harsh, magnificent balance, a kingdom of ice that seemed eternal. But the story of our planet is a story of cycles. No winter, no matter how long, lasts forever. The same celestial rhythms that plunged the Earth into 100,000 years of cold were, once again, beginning to shift. Tonight, our journey brings us to the end of the last ice age. we will feel the world begin to warm, hear the sound of the great glaciers melting, and watch as the vast, frozen kingdom of the mammoth begins to disappear. This is the story of the Great Thaw. Imagine the world around 20,000 years ago, the last glacial maximum. The ice sheets are at their largest extent. The world is at its coldest. The Mammoth Steppe is a vast, unbroken empire stretching from Europe to North America. The mammoths are at the peak of their reign. But the great, slow clockwork of the cosmos is turning. The Earth's orbit around the sun is becoming slightly more circular. The tilt of its axis is subtly changing. These are tiny adjustments, imperceptible to any living being. But over thousands of years, they alter the amount of sunlight that reaches the northern hemisphere in the summer. More sunlight means more melting. The change begins as a whisper. At the southern edges of the great ice sheets, the summers become a fraction of a degree warmer. A little more of the ice melts each year than is replaced by the winter snow. The retreat has begun. For the first few thousand years, the change is almost unnoticeable, but the process is relentless, and it is accelerating. The warming feeds on itself. As the bright, white ice, which reflects sunlight back into space, is replaced by dark rock and soil, which absorb it, the planet warms even faster. Let us stand at the edge of one of the great glaciers. For millennia, it has been a silent, frozen cliff, a wall of blue ice on the horizon. But now it is alive with sound. It is the sound of a world dissolving. Great, thunderous cracks echo as immense crevasses open in the ice. The sound of waterfalls, millions of them, as rivers of meltwater pour from the surface of the glacier, carving tunnels deep within its heart. And the great, groaning, tearing sound as colossal icebergs break off from its edge and crash into the newly forming glacial lakes. The ice is bleeding. The water that was locked away for 100,000 years is now returning to the sea. And as it does, the world is being remade. As the glaciers retreat, they leave behind a new landscape, a scarred, wounded land of bare rock, of great piles of gravel and sand called moraines, and of immense, cold, sterile lakes of meltwater. The first life to return to this new land is not the grass of the steppe, but the hardy lichens and mosses. And as the climate warms, it also becomes wetter. The vast, dry, high-pressure systems created by the ice sheets begin to break down. Moisture from the warming oceans can now travel further inland. The endless, windy dryness of the Mammoth Steppe is being replaced by a world of increased rainfall and humidity. For the mammoths and the other creatures of the steppe, this is a catastrophe unfolding in slow motion. Their world is disappearing from under their feet. The Mammoth Steppe was a unique ecosystem, a product of a very specific set of conditions: cold, dry, and windy. It was a vast, unbroken grassland, but the new, warmer, wetter climate is poison to this world.
The hardy, nutrient-rich grasses and herbs that the mammoths depended on cannot survive in the wetter soil. They are being replaced by new kinds of plants. In some places, the rising water table turns the once dry plains into vast boggy wetlands and peatlands.
The mammoths, with their heavy bodies and flat feet, are not adapted for this soft, treacherous ground. The bogs are a trap. We find the remains of many mammoths who became mired in these new wetlands, their great skeletons preserved in the peat. In other areas, a different and even more formidable enemy is advancing: the forest. Spruce, birch, and pine trees, which had survived the Ice Age in sheltered southern refuges, now begin their great march northward. Their seeds are carried by the wind into the new, damp soil. Where once there was only an endless horizon of grass, there is now a line of young trees. And that line is always advancing. For a mammoth, a forest is a prison. Their massive bodies are not designed for navigating between closely packed trees. Their great curving tusks, so perfect for sweeping aside snow, become entangled in the branches. And most importantly, the forest floor does not grow the right kind of food. The shaded, acidic soil of the boreal forest supports a different community of plants, one that the mammoth's specialized grinding teeth are not equipped to eat. The great open pasture at the roof of the world is shrinking, being squeezed from the south by the advancing forests and from the north by the rising seas. As you prepare for sleep, try to feel this immense, slow-motion crisis from the perspective of the matriarch. She is old. She remembers a world that was vast and open. She tries to lead her family along the ancient migration routes, the paths that have been followed for 1,000 generations. But the paths are gone. A river that was once a shallow, easy crossing is now a deep, raging torrent, swollen with glacial meltwater. A valley that was once a rich, wintering pasture is now a dense, impassable forest. A coastal plain where the herd once grazed is now at the bottom of the rising sea. The map in the matriarch's mind, her most precious inheritance, no longer matches the world under her feet. The herd is lost. They are refugees in their own land. The stress on the mammoth populations is immense. Their habitat is fragmenting, their food source is disappearing. They are being forced into smaller and smaller pockets of the old steppe, leading to overcrowding and increased competition. And they are not alone in their struggle. The woolly rhinos, the giant elk, the steppe bison, the entire magnificent assembly of Ice Age megafauna is facing the same crisis. Their world is vanishing. The humans, too, are adapting to this new world. As the great herds decline and fragment, the specialized mammoth hunters must learn new ways to live. They become hunters of the forest, preying on deer and boar. They become fishermen, harvesting the bounty of the new rivers and lakes. Their culture, once so deeply intertwined with the mammoth, begins to change. The great spirit of the Ice Age is fading, and the people must find new spirits to guide them. Let this story of a great unraveling bring you a sense of calm. This is not a story of violence, but of the deep, slow, and inexorable power of climate change. It is a reminder that even the most perfectly adapted creatures are vulnerable when the fundamental rules of their world are rewritten. Picture the last great herds wandering through a landscape that is becoming a green maze. The familiar, open horizon is gone, replaced by a wall of trees. The dry, biting wind has been replaced by a damp, still air. The world feels wrong.
The end of the Ice Age was not a gentle spring. It was a chaotic, messy, and often destructive transition. It was the death of one world and the birth of another. In our final journey, we will follow the very last of the mammoths. We will travel to a small, isolated island in the Arctic Ocean where a tiny population held on for thousands of years after their relatives on the mainland had vanished. We will witness the final, poignant echo of the last great lords of the Ice Age. For now, rest in the sound of the great thaw. Hear the distant roar of a glacier calving into the sea. Hear the whisper of the wind through the first new forests. And let the image of a world being washed clean, a world in the midst of a profound and powerful transformation, guide you into a deep and restorative sleep.
We have journeyed through a world of magnificent ice and walked with the great mammoth lords. We have witnessed their mastery over a frozen planet and felt the deep spiritual connection they shared with our own ancestors. And we have watched as their world dissolved in a great thaw, as the glaciers retreated, the forests advanced, and their vast kingdom vanished. The age of the great megafauna was over. On the continents of Eurasia and North America, the last of the mainland mammoths walked their final, lonely paths around 10,000 years ago. Their passing was quiet, the end of a long, slow decline. It seemed as if the story of the Ice Age Titans had finally come to a close. But it had not. Tonight, in our final journey together, we travel to a place of fog and silence, a tiny, forgotten outpost of the Ice Age, where a small band of survivors held on for thousands of years after their world had disappeared. This is the story of the last mammoths on Earth and of their final, silent echo. Let us travel north, far north, off the coast of Siberia into the icy waters of the Arctic Ocean. Here lies a small, remote, and rugged island. Today it is called Wrangel Island. It is a place of stark beauty, a world of polar bears, Arctic foxes, and endless windswept tundra. During the height of the Ice Age, this island was not an island at all. It was a high point, a northern refuge at the edge of the great land bridge of Beringia that connected Siberia to Alaska. It was a part of the Mammoth Steppe. The great herds roamed here as they did everywhere across the vast frozen plains. But as the great thaw began, as the glaciers melted and the seas began to rise, the world around this high ground was slowly inundated. The low-lying plains of Beringia, the great highway of the Ice Age, disappeared beneath the waves. The waters of the Chukchi and East Siberian seas rose, and the high ground of Wrangel was cut off, surrounded by the ocean. It became an island. And on this island, a small group of mammoths was trapped. They were separated from the rest of their kind, isolated from the changes that were sweeping the continents. While the forests were advancing and the great steppes were turning to bog, here, on this remote Arctic island, a small pocket of the Ice Age world survived. The climate was cold enough, and the landscape was windswept enough that the forests could not take root. The Mammoth Steppe in miniature persisted here, and so did the mammoths. For 6,000 years after the last of their relatives on the mainland had vanished, a population of woolly mammoths lived on Wrangel Island. It is a fact that is almost difficult to believe. While the first great civilizations of humanity were rising in Mesopotamia and Egypt, while people were building cities of mud brick and inventing writing, a herd of woolly mammoths was still walking the earth. But these were not the great titans of the Pleistocene. Life on an island is different. Resources are limited.
And over thousands of years of isolation, the mammoths of Wrangel Island began to change. They became smaller. This process, called insular dwarfism, is a common evolutionary path for large animals trapped on islands. With less food available, a smaller body size is an advantage. Over generations, the mammoths of Wrangel Island shrank until they stood no more than 2 meters at the shoulder, significantly smaller than their colossal ancestors. They were dwarf mammoths, a unique final chapter in the story of their lineage. Imagine the life of one of these last mammoths. The world is a small, familiar circle. The island is only 150 kilometers across. The ancient continental scale migrations are a forgotten memory, a ghost in their genes. Now, their journey is a slow, circular path around the island's shores and through its sheltered valleys. The matriarch of this small herd does not hold the memory of a continent in her mind, but the detailed, intimate knowledge of every hill, every stream, every patch of hardy grass on her island home. The world is quieter. There are no great predators here. The saber-toothed cats and the cave lions did not make it to the island. The only hunters are the polar bears, who might prey on a very young or a very sick calf, but pose no threat to a healthy adult. For the first time in their long history, the mammoths are living in a world almost free from fear. But it is a fragile peace. Their isolation is both a sanctuary and a prison. Their world is stable, but it is small, and their numbers are few. The genetic diversity of the population is dwindling. Trapped on this island arc, there are last of their kind, a living echo in a world that has moved on.
As you prepare to rest tonight, let your mind travel to this lonely, beautiful island at the top of the world. Feel the cold, clean air. Hear the sound of the Arctic wind and the distant crash of sea ice on the shore, and see the small herd of shaggy dwarf mammoths moving slowly through the low Arctic twilight. They are a ghost herd, a final, poignant memory of a lost world. Their existence is a miracle of survival, a testament to the incredible resilience of life. But their story, too, must have an end. What finally brought about their demise? For years, it was a mystery. The climate on the island was stable. Their habitat remained. But around 4,000 years ago, they vanished. The answer, we now believe, came from a combination of factors, a final, perfect storm of small crises. The long isolation had taken its toll on their genetics. Studies of their DNA recovered from fossilized tusks show that by the end, the population was suffering from the effects of inbreeding. Harmful mutations were accumulating. Their sense of smell may have been compromised. They may have been losing their thick, woolly coats. The last mammoths were a pale, weakened reflection of their once mighty ancestors. And then, a final blow. There may have been a sudden, extreme weather event, a winter of unusually deep snow, or a summer where rain fell on the snow and froze into a thick, impenetrable layer of ice, sealing away their food. For a large, healthy population on a continent, such an event would be a setback. For a small, isolated, and genetically weakened population on an island, it was a death sentence. And there is another shadow in this final chapter. The first evidence of humans on Wrangel Island appears at almost the exact same time that the mammoths disappear. These were not the great mammoth hunters of the Ice Age,
but a new culture of Arctic people, traveling by boat. Did they hunt the last of the mammoths to extinction? Perhaps. Even a small amount of hunting pressure on such a fragile population could have been enough to tip the balance. Or perhaps it was more subtle. Perhaps the arrival of humans with their dogs and their camps simply added a final, unmanageable stress to a population that was already on the brink. We will never know for sure. The end came quietly. There was no great cataclysm. One by one, the last of the mammoths fell until there were none. Imagine the very last one, an old female, perhaps, the last matriarch. She stands alone on a high ridge, looking out over the gray, icy sea. Her family is gone. The low, rumbling calls that once filled her life are now only a memory. She is the last of a lineage that walked the earth for 5 million years. She takes a final, sighing breath of the cold, clean air and lays her great, tired body down on the frozen ground. And with her passing, a profound silence falls. The age of mammoths is finally, truly over. Let this quiet, poignant ending bring you a sense of peace. It is a story of loss, but it is also a story of incredible endurance. The mammoths did not simply vanish. They held on with a quiet dignity for 6,000 years after their world had ended. They are a symbol of the enduring power of life and of its ultimate, inevitable fragility. The story of the last mammoth lords is over. The ice has retreated. The steppes have become forests. The humans have built their cities. But the memory of the great shaggy beasts still walks the earth. It is in the frozen carcasses that emerge from the melting permafrost, their hair and flesh still intact. It is in the great curving tusks that are still found in the riverbeds of Siberia. And it is in the ancient, powerful paintings in the deep caves. The mammoths are gone, but they are not forgotten. They are a part of the story of our planet, a part of the story of ourselves. They are a reminder of a world that was, a world of ice, of giants, and of a beauty that was as harsh as it was profound. Rest now. Let the deep, silent peace of the Arctic night be your guide, and let the final, quiet echo of the last mammoth be a lullaby for a deep and restorative sleep.